Are we live?
We're live.
We had an argument last week that we didn't actually have.
Yeah, it wasn't really an argument. You made a statement.
And you said, I don't believe you. And
I said, I don't know about that. I didn't say I don't believe
Yeah.
you. We just need to hash it out.
yeah, and then I said, okay, let's do it. And you said, no, we had to do it on this.
Well, I figured it was best.
That makes sense.
Not to mention, we were kind of on a time schedule. And usually, if we're going to have a discussion like that, it's not going to be 2 minutes.
That's
It's probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour.
That's
so
That's true.
since we figured this is a perfect place to do it, we're here, right?
Yep, and I expect us to find some fascinating things today.
If we don't find fascinating things, it's going to be very disappointing,
And
honestly.
if anybody's watching this today and they're an online marketer or a physical business entrepreneur, because as you know, we've worked with many different types, furniture stores and midwives and online coaches
and gyms and all kinds of different stuff.
and restaurants and actually a lot fitness people, real estate people.
Real estate people,
Who else?
etiquette people.
Etiquette people.
I know that's
That one wasn't mine.
no. She's actually one of my favorite clients.
And so she teaches people how to do
Etiquette.
etiquette.
Yeah, like
You can make a business out of anything.
literally anything.
Yeah.
And like she's got a massive following. It's so crazy. She's like across all platforms. I think she has like 7 million followers
Really?
for etiquette.
I didn't know that.
For
Wow.
etiquette.
Well, I was actually, that's fascinating. So I was at a, when I was working with Myron, I went to ClickFunnels headquarters, and what was his name? Challenge dude, Pedro.
Pedro Adaya.
Yeah, Pedro was there, and we were in the lobby of the hotel, and there was like nobody there. It was like 3 or 4 of us there, and he came and he just started talking. He was just talking, and he was asking me about our conversion rates. I was asking about his, and he was, and he said, we're like, I tell my people all the time that like, the riches are not in the niches.
The
He
micro
said
niches.
they're in the niches of the niches of the niche, like the micro niches.
Yep.
And he told me a story about this lady that was like a Christian lady that was like decided to teach people how to crochet and did like a crochet challenge.
So
and
crazy.
he said she got like 10,000 people to sign up like immediately.
Well, and
I was like, what?
So that's crazy because when we lived in Florida, our neighbor crocheted and knitted and all that stuff. She would go to conferences. Like she would go to like
crochet, like marketing conferences,
like
except for crochet
3-day
people.
event for crocheting and like knitting. And I was like, I said, huh, what? You're going? She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to such and such place and we're going to, and I was like, huh. And it that just exemplifies the point.
Well, and I know this is not exact.
Didn't Pedro, I swear I saw something on one of his things that he had a dude that like taught people how to like get more eggs from their chickens or something. Like it was some like chicken. It was like some dude that did some kind of like chicken egg farmer challenge or something crazy.
Well, Russell,
it was something wild.
I know Russell talks about sometimes about how there was a dude that was using ClickFunnels for hunting Bigfoot.
I know.
Yeah, selling Bigfoot hunting trips.
Okay, so I have a question because I don't know the lure of that, but I see, because we just moved to Tennessee, obviously. I see a lot of Bigfoot stuff around here.
Yeah.
Is that the original sighting was around here, or they just kind of?
No, I honestly don't know.
Was it in the Pacific Northwest? I thought it was.
I have no idea.
Anyways.
No, I grew up here, and I don't really know anything about Bigfoot. It's just occasionally, I don't know why it is. A lot of rednecks / hillbillies around here like to put like carved outlines of Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, the big one,
behind like a tree in their yard or something.
Like the metal cutouts, and like the full size metal cutouts.
Yeah, and then that way when you drive by, it like catches your eye. You're like, what?
Especially at night. Yeah.
It's funny. But there's tension, right?
Oh, that's a good one, and it's the best kind because it's peripheral vision, right? And your peripheral vision is more sensitive than your normal.
Okay, so this is fascinating. So this is so fascinating, Zach. Okay. So
at least if I remember the factoid correctly.
Gosh, this is so fascinating. So peripherally, the further you get away, the edge, we actually don't have color vision.
Yeah.
So it goes away to just black and white. But here's the crazy thing. So when you look at a thing, like if I look at you, I don't actually see your whole face. And so what actually happens is the eyes make these micro jumps, these tiny micro jumps, and they get a point of reference, 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 point of reference. And then, here's the crazy thing, and then it actually builds a composite image of what it thinks
it
is there. So it's almost like AI. Like it predicts, because it doesn't take in all the information, because it's a way for it to
conserve energy
and to minimize the 25K resolution incoming.
Right.
And so the visual cortex is the most powerful part, but it still has to streamline and make decisions. And so what happens, and this is fascinating because, and people, this is absolutely fascinating. So people watch people's eyes. This is the reason why your wife will get really mad at you if you're looking at your phone and answering a question at the same time. Surely that don't happen, does it?
I literally, when Laura starts talking to me, I literally have gotten in the habit of, I just set my, like, no matter what's going on, I just put my phone down.
You have to.
Because if I don't, I just get, like, it's kind of like training the dog, right? Like with the little zap collar thing, right? Like, it's like, I don't feel like getting dinged, like I don't feel like getting the flick on the ear kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, well, the training is now, Laura's talking, just put it down and just look.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, right? Even like my only grace is 1 second, let me finish writing this thing. Because usually I'm like responding to an employee or something like that.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Like I can get away with that, but if I don't acknowledge it at all and try to finish, then I'll get yelled at.
Well, and the reason for that is, and this is so fascinating. So, with the way the eyes do, we infer people's values based on where their eyes are pointing.
That makes sense.
So actually, by osmosis, we infer. We just sit there and watch, and then we infer biological signals and physiological signals that those things are important to people. It's really fascinating. If you're walking like through an airport and it's super busy, this is so fun. I remember the first time I heard it, and then I tried it instantly. Have I told you this?
I think so. Didn't you do it with your cousin?
Well, this is a different one.
Oh, okay, this is a different one.
We'll do that for another episode. That's fun. So this is, you're walking through and there's people coming at you. When you went through a busy thing where they're coming both directions, right? Yeah. So what you do is, whatever you do, you look past everybody in front of you to a point out in the future, way out there, right? But you have to lock onto it, and you just walk. And whatever you do, you just walk, and everyone will part. It's like Moses in the Red Sea, man. People will part, and they will hurry, and they don't even know they're doing it. Like, so it's so fascinating. You can tell they don't even know they're doing it. Like, but what happens is, it's so fascinating.
That is super fascinating. That's better than the trick that my buddy used to use in middle school. So obviously, middle school, you start changing classes, right? Or at least we did. And so he had one class, one of his periods, he was basically on opposite ends of the school, right? And like, we had a big middle school. We had probably had 1,000 kids on our middle school, right? Between all three grades. Well, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot.
I know it's a lot compared to here. That's bigger than the whole town. But anyways, so he would walk through the hall, and if it was jammed up, he would say hot soup, and everybody would turn because you don't want to get burned. He'd go hot soup, and literally people would turn to look, and in the turning to look, it would open a space for him.
Fast.
So he would you would hear hot soup coming through, hot soup, and people would be like, "What the heck?" And he would just slip right down the middle.
So
and he would make it.
That's so fascinating, right? But so as you were just talking about that and explaining it, it makes it fascinating because people are making that decision based on whether or not it's related to them. So for hot soup, they think, "Oh, I don't want to get burnt. I better move."
Well, right? I have to at least see where it's coming from,
so that I don't.
So that I may be in the way or I may not. So I at least have to look and see who said it and see if there's danger.
Right, exactly. And you're going to, why does your eyes move that way? Your eyes move that way so that you can then assess and rank a value.
Right.
So that you can determine what to do next.
Yep.
Now, in the airport example, when you're walking, it's similar where that when you're walking, and so the moment someone sees that your eyes are not on them, but on a mission over there, so there's a target over there, they immediately know that you're no longer a risk, a threat, or anything, because you have nothing. You could care less about them,
other than to run into them, because you're not looking at them, so that you're not being spatially aware.
No, and so that's the thing, and so it's so fascinating. Fascinating, and I didn't realize that I was going to say that. But it's so fascinating because, and that's really how social media companies. We got to get to the manufacturing,
the manufacturing part. Yeah.
But when we're talking about social media specifically, social media is literally people just don't understand. It's the reason why we created WordWash. People don't understand why or how important where your eyeballs are.
Oh, yeah.
To how it's going to affect you.
Oh, yeah.
In ways you don't even know. Like, in ways you don't understand. Like, you don't understand how this is going to affect your biology or your physiology or anything that you do next. Your brain will hallucinate a reason why you're doing it, but that won't be the reason. Like, the reason is just a series of psychological and physiological triggers. Okay, maybe we can't get to the manufacturing thing yet because I got to talk about something.
Okay, let her rip. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to
hopefully it's something fascinating.
It is fascinating. Well, we talked about this the other day a little bit. And
okay.
We'll get to the manufacturing stuff eventually, but I want to talk about turkeys because it's related to what we just said.
Okay.
Because like from a marketing standpoint, or a sales perspective, or a business perspective,
we talked about turkeys.
What?
We talked about turkeys.
Not on here.
I thought we did.
No.
Really? Did we talk about it somewhere else?
Yeah, we talked about it after.
We need to have less conversations so I don't get them all mixed up.
No. We talked about Jesus whipping people and flipping over tables and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't talk about turkeys.
Huh.
Yeah. So, the most valuable piece of information, other than knowing Jesus and loving my wife and all that kind of stuff, that I've ever learned from a business perspective is that, even not just from a business perspective, actually from a personal perspective, is that humans do not make their decisions logically. We make them emotionally, and we don't even know that we're making them emotionally. In fact, every fact is only gathered because we care about knowing about that fact. So it's an emotional reason. Like even the idea to go and do science and to study whether this spice affects diabetics or not, it's like, okay, well, you're assigning value to, okay, well, diabetes is bad, then therefore I'm going to gather information about that. So even the information and the science you're doing around that is predicated upon the value that you already set. Okay.
So Myron always say, humans only do something for one reason and one reason only, because they feel like it.
That's true.
It's very, very true.
I think it's true 90% of the time. I do think there is C.S. Lewis. We'll get to baby turkeys. Baby turkeys too, yeah. Mother turkeys. But I like that you said that because that's something I always kind of disagreed with Myron about.
Okay, cool.
I agree with it on the broad scale.
Sure.
But
it's directionally true.
It's directionally correct. It's directionally and predictably accurate, but it's not ironclad in this sense.
Okay.
So C.S. Lewis in the book Mere Christianity, he talks about how that the whole book is basically his walk into Christianity.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally a book. It was originally a series of articles, and so he puts it together. But he doesn't go straight to trying to prove Jesus as a creator.
Right.
He starts with the very first chapter, the very first page says, everyone let's take an example. Someone goes into Starbucks. He doesn't use Starbucks. I'm going to use Starbucks today.
I don't think Starbucks was around.
And he says someone's there, and then all of a sudden, someone comes and cuts line. And they say, hey, you shouldn't do that, right? Hey, you gave me a bit of your, I gave you a bit of my orange. You need to give me a bit of your grapefruit.
Right.
You know, everyone acts and talks and assumes that there is an objective moral standard.
There's a baseline.
There's a baseline of morality and ethics that everyone presupposes. Now, some people can argue about specifics of it, but even if someone says, hey, you shouldn't do that, the other person doesn't be like, to hell with your standard. They don't usually do that.
Not typically.
Usually what they do is they say, well, that really doesn't apply because blank.
Right.
Like they justify it through a direction.
Sure.
So
that's in alignment with their moral compass.
In alignment with their moral compass.
And they're basically saying, hey, I hear your moral standard. Here's why I did it, because this is my moral standard.
Well, and
potentially,
and even deeper, they're really arguing that they didn't break the actual standard in the first place.
Right.
There is a shift, and here's the reason why that particular normal moral standard ought not apply in this situation. Right. So you like that word now? It's a great word. Ought. Was that you telling me most people don't use that word?
I believe so, but I think. Well, yes, I don't think most people use that word. First of all, second of all, the one I told you, you said it like 14 times in the span of like 20 minutes. So it was the contrast of both things, right? It doesn't show up in normal conversation.
And then it's there all the time.
And then you were using it. It wasn't excessive for the conversation, but it was noticeable to me, right?
Well,
because it was
I bet it was when I was talking when we were doing our Chaos to Order Word Wash program. Because I did a lot of oughts.
Yeah, there was one of your teachings that was in that was like, you were just like, it felt like to me every other word was an ought. It wasn't. It seemed like it. But like when you're not accustomed to that showing up in conversation, then that.
Well, and you know, and that's the fascinating things, how that most people, and this is kind of. This is kind of, well, I won't go into that. Where were we at?
Well, you have turkeys to talk about, and we have manufacturing to talk about.
Yeah, but we were
talking about. You were talking about C.S. Lewis.
You were, because I was disagreeing with that. About people do it for one reason only.
Right.
Because they want to.
Because they feel like.
Because they feel like it. That's even better. Because they feel like it, and I might even could get into that, but. What he ends up doing is saying, okay, so there is an ought there. C.S. Lewis talks about that. And he says, okay, well then once everyone agrees that everyone is operating under the assumption that there is an ought, then there's an ought giver, so to speak, right? There's a transcendent ought.
Yeah.
And that transcendent ought is what everyone is appealing to, albeit maybe vague or not exact, but everyone's arguing for that, no matter where you're at. And that's actually one of the arguments for like Christians getting involved in politics, because if like every law that's made, no matter what the law, it's a moral law.
Correct.
Now, whether it's an objectively correct or directionally accurate moral law is up for debate.
But that's the objective.
But the objective of any law is to implement
a moral guideline.
Exactly. Yeah. That is then punishable by state.
Correct.
And so the argument for Christian nationalism, for example, and there's many different brands and stuff of that. But there's many different brands of that. But it's a big hot topic right now. And a lot of people's pushing back on it, saying that, all these bad, terrible Christian nationalists will, every single, like if someone's an alphabet person, right? They're going to push towards the, I don't know if did you happen to see that video?
I did
Oh my
not.
gosh. There's a video Canada just came out with. This is hilarious. Canada just came out with this thing, and they added like 12 new letters to like the alphabet, big long thing. She was like, it's so crazy that it's so crazy funny. She was like, it's so crazy that if you didn't, you got to look it up.
I will.
She said it's so crazy because she said they didn't approve. It was in Canada. They didn't approve even a single dollar of funding to prevent the genocide of MMI23 SW2 LGBTQ plus 2S2. She just like, it was long, man.
And
I like started trying to write it down. Like I went back and forth. I don't remember what it was, but it was like MMI23. Like it was.
And that's
crazy.
what they're trying to add? I'm confused.
No, they were arguing. It was just crazy because they were adding a bunch of letters as if they already existed into
an alphabet.
into the group for the alphabet for the LGBTQ people, right? Okay. So it was the LGBTQ movement thing, but they were trying to get funding for that, but they added a bunch of extra letters, and it was crazy. But my point was, if you're one of those people, what you're arguing for is
moral compass as you see it.
Or
right. A moral like a moral law based on your
like you can't write something of a disagreement. Like there was a lady in Europe just recently. Her book got banned recently because she quoted Paul about it, and she was fined. She was imprisoned, fined, and her book was banned in Europe because she quoted the Bible in her book and quoted, it was bad stuff. It was really bad stuff. It's just recent, just happened.
That's crazy.
It is really crazy because that's the foundation of free speech. But then that's again, so should you have free speech? Should you not have free speech? And so then the question is dependent upon your moral hierarchy of value.
Correct.
Right. And so, and if someone's feelings around a thing.
If you believe that words can hurt you.
Well, I do believe words can hurt people, but I don't think that means that just because I don't think that if a word can hurt someone, that sometimes people need to be hurt by words.
Well,
like my wife has told me not bad things, but like she's told me things that exposed blind spots.
Sure.
Which don't feel good. Right?
Well, so I was going to follow that up with working out hurts.
100%.
But it's a good idea.
It's a good idea. That's
right?
the thing,
like,
right?
So if you go to the book Anti-Fragile, you need that opposing force to grow stronger you
have to.
Right. And so, sure, words hurt, but they're for correction and they're for guidance to a correct belief, right? And I'm, as a whole, not like I'm right and you're wrong, like you need the open discussion to come to the appropriate answer, right? Because like we're going to have at some point here, we're going to have a discussion about manufacturing.
Maybe if we get to
potentially, hopefully we get to it. We have to retitle this thing. We're going to have a discussion about a statement that you made that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm going to hear you out.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back and forth and we're going to hash it out, right? And it's, if I was more offendable, I could be offended.
Oh yeah.
Right. I tend to not be offendable.
Well, or
I try to be. I try not to be.
I mean, I think it's almost impossible to not take offense at sometimes, but because if you're in error at any point in your life, which unless you're perfect, you're in error many times in your life. I am, you are, everyone's in error at some point. So the thing is the repercussions of that error is going to be painful, but it's also going to be painful to hear that you're in error. So you can be offended that you're like, it can hit you as an offense, but that doesn't mean that
So let me correct my statement.
Okay.
So my objective is, because that does happen, right? Like I'll be in error. Like my wife will point out that you've done something stupid and wrong.
And man, wives can do that better than anybody else.
Boy, get the knives out. They coming. And they're sharp and a little jagged on the edges. Because, anyways, but
For sure.
But my objective in that is, yes, there is a level, like there's that emotional reaction to it. But my objective in those instances is not to, like, yes, it's offensive because it hurts and it comes at you. But my objective is to not put it on that, like, not to be offended and be mad at that person because they pointed it out.
Of course.
I would rather be offended at myself.
Of course.
Right? And so that's what I mean when I say I try not to be offended by people.
I completely
right?
agree.
So,
I wasn't disagreeing with you.
I know you weren't disagreeing, but I wanted to clarify.
Offense itself is useful.
Sure.
Right? Because it's a testing.
Yeah.
So you're either right about your presuppositions about the thing, or you're wrong.
Right.
And that's the moment where you're put into the fire to refine, to find out whether you've got the reflection or not. Right?
Yeah. So as long as you're refining silver.
There you go.
Gold is different.
So let's come back and put a bow on the C.S. Lewis conversation.
Sure, yeah.
Because people do things because they feel like it. Okay, so he then said, now you could argue in C.S. Lewis, he says that moral argument is mainly as a perseverance of the species. Like, okay, well, through biological processes, our biology, our physiology has learned that these are the morals that further the species.
Correct.
Okay. He said, but, let's say, for example, because, the biological argument or the evolutionary argument is that people are mainly driven by procreation at the foundational level. Freud was big on that.
Yeah.
And he said, everything comes back down to genetics being spread.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of our behaviors are mere seeming complicated versions of that as a derivative. Okay. So the craziest thing is this. He says, okay, so let's say there's someone drowning. They're drowning in the water. Someone's drowning in the water, and you're walking by. Okay. And then you're sitting there. Well, there's a deliberation that happens in your mind. Do I jump out into the ice water to try to rescue this person, very well endangering myself?
Yep.
Or do I stay on the beach and preserve my life and my ability to procreate? Okay? Because one is for the other, one is for yourself. He said, then you have this split of it's good to stay alive and it's good to save someone. Right? Or you could switch it even to a better example is like there's a person being attacked by a shark. Right? Do you run out there and try to save the person or not? Right? Like that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
But like you could save them, right? You're on knee deep water. You could grab them, pull.
Like the old dude that wrangled the gator and saved his dog.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, down in Florida.
I remember that.
With a cigar in his mouth, never dropped a cigar, just went in, just pulled the gator off.
I totally remember that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So so then he said the crazy thing is so the obvious genetic answer is you save yourself.
Sure.
Because you could have more children and that's not your gene pool over there.
Right.
Okay, but there's something hanging into you that's there, that's present, that's saying, hey, you ought go save this person.
Right.
Right? You ought. And there's that ought word again. Ought. And the crazy thing is, he said, so then what is the thing that judges between the two? What? Because you're going to have these two motivations. Motivation for self-preservation, motivation for helping your neighbor. So what arbitrates that? And he uses this, he says, because most of the time that voice is not the thing you want to do or even feel like doing, right? Like the voice of what you ought to do is not what you feel like doing in the moment.
For sure.
And I think that was my kicker. Like if you peel back the layers of human psychology, because every motivation that's like that, you know, like let's say there's an unmarried couple, right? Or let's say there's a young man and he's watching bad things that he shouldn't watch on social, you know, some website or something, right? And he's a believer and he knows he ought not.
Yeah.
So it feels better to, or he feels like he wants to, right? But then there's an ought. So if he chooses the ought, then he's choosing what doesn't feel the best.
Right.
Right. And I think that's my only argument with that.
Sure.
But that is that spirit flesh wrestling.
Oh, 100%.
I think. But so I agree with it on whole that people
on an impulsive level.
100%.
On an impulsive level, the feelings are there, and on non-critical crazy things like saving people from freezing water or sharks, obviously I don't feel like jumping into cold water, but I think part of his point though was also when you can train yourself to feel like doing the things.
Oh, that part, yes.
Then look out, right? Because you can get to a point where basically it becomes part of your identity, right? It becomes part of you to where I feel like doing it. I feel like whatever.
Oh, you know, from a sales perspective and a persuasion standpoint, operating off that principle, that's what makes Myron such a good salesperson.
Sure.
Is if you can tell a bunch of stories about how it feels good to spend money, right? Like I love writing a big check to the guy that washes my car.
Right.
I love, and if you don't enjoy paying people, then you're, you know, that's the reason why you're going to have trouble, right? And so then by the time the sale gets there, you've already put yourself into the state that I feel like buying.
Exactly.
I feel like spending money. I feel like spending money.
Yep.
And so the principle works in that way. And if you can create the environment of any sales room to facilitate the feeling of I want to move forward, I want to spend money, I want to be different than other people, I want to, and it depends on the audience that you're talking to, right? And I think it's fascinating. When I first got really into sales, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, so when I first got into sales, I realized that every single preacher is just a salesperson.
Oh, 100%.
And they're using sales techniques like crazy, and they don't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
They have no idea.
Oh, I know that because you spend enough time in the marketing and sales world, and then you go to church, and Laura and I watch and listen to them because we spent a lot of time about group psychology and we spent a lot of time learning about those things and being involved in that. And so when preachers, whether they meant to do it or not,
and most of the time they don't.
Most of the time they don't, but like whether it was intentional or not, I know that they're doing things that are beneficial to the sale, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And just to define the sale, I'm thinking the sale as being, like
salvation
pick Jesus as your Lord.
Salvation or do morally better or
whatever
repent, like any of those things, like whatever their general topic is, they're selling the topic
and the idea
that day.
Yes.
Right. But watching them and how they tell stories, how they engage the audience, like all those things, like I know whether or not because the message, like the words in the message were necessarily good, but I know that most of the people felt really good about being at church that day based on some of those key components that they do, just because I understand the psychology behind what's going on, right? Because we spent a lot of time in it, right? And so it's fascinating because like literally, like Laura and I in the middle of a church service will tap each other and be like,
Yeah.
Right? Because they alliterated something or they got buy-in, right? They got people to
or there's a pre-frame or a reframe.
Right. Or any of those things that happen, right? Like, especially on the pre-frame, like they'll tell this little story and then they'll go into what the topic is for the day. And we're like, oh, that's such a good pre-frame for this topic. Like that story led into this so well. Right. And the thing is it's just reps, like a lot of times.
And I think also, I think this is the reason why like a lot of marketers and like copywriters and salespeople are not necessarily believers a lot of times is I think, I think about some of the people that are people like that really study human, like the way humans behave.
Yeah.
Like Dan Kennedy, for example.
Sure.
Or Eric Hoffer, for example.
I don't know if I know him.
He wasn't a marketer, but he was a study of like mass movements. He studied the art of the true believer, I think,
Gotcha.
or the true believer, I think is what, and it's all about. He studies like the way Hitler talked and stuff, and how he choreated the audience, and a bunch of stuff like that. But he talks about mass movements, and he any of those guys, like they understand at a group dynamic things that are happening. Because of that, I think it kind of
makes it more challenging.
It makes it a little more challenging.
Sure.
But I think what a lot of times they miss is, in general, is that true communication, all true communication is persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
And persuasion doesn't have to be manipulation.
Right.
Right. They play by the same rules.
Yeah.
Or
close
rules
enough.
might not be the right word. They play by the same principles.
Yeah.
But persuasion in its pure form is just communication in the way a human brain
can receive it
the best.
Yeah.
It's like coded the best for the brain.
Right.
Right? And it helps people to actually understand what's being presented rather than, that's the reason why the Lord of the Rings is a much bigger sales, has a lot better sales than a mathematical physics book.
Of course,
it's because a mathematical physics book is going to have a lot of words, a lot of verbiage, a lot of specifics, but it's not packaged in a way.
Right. There's no story.
There's no stories. There's no epiphany bridges. And there's no kind of like bridges. There's no, to use some of Russell Brunson's language. And,
Laura actually, so the funny thing is like we'll listen to books while we're driving sometimes. And if the book does not have enough story type dialogue and like she has a hard time listening to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I am able to listen to the more sciencey books that will have some stories in them, but they're much more like factual database like type information. And she struggles and she's like, I don't really like, she'll get lost in that, right? Because it's not the best form of communication for that learning. For her.
And that's really fascinating because, as people's probably already heard Jordan Peterson say this a lot, but based on all data, women tend to be more interested in people, and men tend to be more interested in things.
Correct.
And so actually that explains much of what is the so-called gender pay gap, because if in the most egalitarian countries, when they flatten out, women can choose anything. They end up choosing careers that are more in alignment with people.
Yep.
They become teachers. They become
nurses.
They become caretakers.
HR people.
Like they end up being things. And the thing about that type of business is very difficult to scale. Right? Because like hospice, for example, it's a wonderful thing for people.
Yeah, 100%.
But here's the deal. That requires a person to be there with another person.
Yep.
They can't be there for 5 different people.
At the same time.
Right. Now, if you are a manufacturer and you can actually scale that
Right.
in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And so
Because you can multiply with machines.
you can multiply it with machines, right?
Right.
And so men tend to, and this is fascinating because we are an archery-based species. Okay, what I mean by that is we're always extending. Yeah, I like that eyebrow come up. Right. Here's a fascinating thing.
All right.
So we are constantly and almost eternally, in the sense of our mortality, attempting to devise machines, processes, or tools that will extend beyond our physical presence.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, if we're going to, like, if there's a dog and you don't have anything else and there's a dog coming up in your yard and you know he's a bad dog, what's the first thing you do? You turn around, you find a rock, and you take the rock and you chuck the rock.
Right.
Right? And then what you're doing is you're actually, and we're really good at throwing things.
Yeah, we are.
Like as a human, like we're really good at throwing things.
Yeah.
And usually that dog don't have no idea where that came from. It's like, "Ah," and then like we'll run off.
Assuming you're accurate enough.
Right. Assuming. Well, and even then it's like.
Or if it skipped by him, it
Yes.
at least will startle him and take his attention off of you, hopefully.
Or off your cat or whatever the
yeah.
reason why you're doing it in the first place. You don't even have to be trying to hurt the thing.
Right.
You're just
Getting its attention
to move, right?
Right.
And so you're doing a pattern interrupt,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
And so the fascinating thing about all, and really that's what making money online is all about in the first place. Here's a pivot. Here's our pivot. All right. So we're gonna have to get to turkey somewhere in here.
Okay. So fascinating. I gotta jump to this because.
All right, go right ahead.
So the whole throwing things, right?
Yeah.
So I stumbled across this dude on YouTube.
Yeah.
That makes slings.
Like David slings.
Yeah, like so cool. Like so, you think a sling, you think a slingshot, right?
Yep.
Which is obviously that is.
You mean like this kind?
No, that's a slingshot.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
But you're not talking about
I'm not talking.
sling.
I'm talking about the guy makes slings. Like
like
and he basically. So I watched like 10 of his videos because they're awesome, and I so badly want to get a sling to throw rocks and tennis balls and whatever else because why not, right? But he basically is like, yeah, slinging is an extension of throwing, like, and he shows like there's different ways to do it. He's like, but basically, I am just throwing, and it's magnifying my throw, right? And so when I saw it, I was like, this is so cool. But I realized, everybody's like, how could David kill Goliath well, he didn't kill him, but how could he, injure this giant with a stone with a sling? Well, because you're thinking slingshot, which is pew pew little like wimpy. This thing is like coming at you, right? Like if you can throw 70 miles an hour, you're probably going to throw like a 200 mile an hour stone. Like it's a big magnification. Anyways,
they're fast.
They're so cool. I so badly want one.
I've seen a few YouTube videos.
I so
like that.
badly want one, and the dude makes these like custom.
They sound crazy.
Yeah, because they like crack.
Yeah,
oh, so cool. Anyways, so that was a complete aside of just.
It's not a complete aside. It actually connects directly to it, because and this is how we get into manufacturing. Because making money online. So if you think about what you just said, right? It's an extension of. So you throw.
Yeah.
Right, but what do we do in our vision? We're also looking ahead.
Sure.
So we're projecting ourselves far to know what's going on
to a specific point.
Right. What do our ears do? Our ears listen for things, and if we hear something, away from us, it alerts us. To what we need to do. So we're constantly extending ourselves beyond ourselves in order to both to survive and to prosper. And so the desire for manufacturing in the first place is literally to multiply in a way that you couldn't before. Because before the Industrial Revolution, there was a blacksmith, for example, and he made a hammer, and then if you go make another hammer, you got to make another hammer.
Right.
He's gonna make another hammer. He's got to make another sword, another whatever it is.
Nail.
A single nail.
So you want to know something fascinating
I do.
about back in the day?
Fascinating.
We went to there's a place in Florida, and they had a blacksmith there, right? Because they basically what they'd done is they'd taken all these old the historical houses and different items,
Yeah.
and they put them all on this one property, right? And so then they have a little bit about them, and like they had this old sugar press, they had, you know, an old train depot, but they basically took all these places, all these different things from Florida, all these different structures from Florida, and moved them to this one property. Huge property. Anyway, so we went to a blacksmith demonstration, and he made like a nail for us, and he made some other stuff. Well, back in the day, nails and like those things were so valuable that when people would move, they would actually burn the house down to collect all the nails so that they didn't have to remake them, because it was more valuable to collect all the metal pieces and have them ready to go for the next structure. Like if hey, I'm going to move 20 miles away. Well, I'm not leaving this structure here.
You just blew my mind.
Literally.
No,
like the dude told me that, and I was like,
Listen,
wild.
Listen, you got to hear this. So my grandfather built his own house. My dad's dad.
Yeah.
So you know the house. So my dad's dad built his house with a hammer and a nail and a handsaw, the entire house. And his whole life, and my whole life actually, growing up, every time my dad would build anything, or anything we'd tear something down that he built to put up a new wall or change things. Guess what he always made me do?
Take it apart and save everything.
Pull out all the nails, and then hammer them straight and put them in a little bucket, and that's the reason why. I bet that was something that was handed down. Do you see? Like,
oh, well, yeah, because
and then that tradition to do so, right? Like, even though nails eventually got ultra
mass
cheap.
produced, you just buy them by the pound.
Exactly.
Like you buy a pound and whatever kind of, or half pound of whatever nails you need.
Exactly. But for someone that brought up that even for $1, a handful of nails is $1's a lot of money when they grew up with like buying things for a penny.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's like
it's 100 times that.
100 times that. And so it's just that made me realize why
some things are the way they are.
Yeah, because that was because
it's genetically encoded too.
Both genetically yes,
and then taught and reinforced
through
experience.
Through experience,
right? No, so it's both and, right? You have a genetic
because I would have to pull out the nails. Of course, they'd be bent most of the time.
Yeah.
So then you take them, you put them on like a piece of wood,
like a little anvil or something.
Yeah, and then you just hammer them straight. It's easy to do. Takes forever.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Right.
And I remember doing that growing up. I didn't have that memory until
I brought it up.
Until you brought that up.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. But okay. So manufacturing. So, and how is that related to online marketing particularly?
Well,
so
I think you need to make the statement that you made to me.
What's the statement?
You pretty much said something along the lines of manufacturing and online, like selling online digital courses is the exact
They're
same.
exact same thing. So yeah.
So I don't know.
Online businesses.
Yeah.
Online marketing, online businesses. Like,
Yep.
if you have a business that's
That
online,
sells
you're making
information.
money online, that's selling information or e-commerce. It doesn't
Sure.
matter. Like if you have a business and you're selling things, it's the exact same thing as manufacturing, and there is no difference. It's the same thing as it is the same exact thing. There is no difference.
Prove it. No, I like,
Okay.
obviously, like, no, I'm sure you can. So obviously I spent 11 years in manufacturing, so I have a very intimate knowledge of that.
Yes.
And so now I've spent a decent amount of time, not quite 11 years yet, in the online marketing and sales world, right? So
Well, and I also believe
there's definitely similarities.
There's similarities, but they're the exact same thing. And here's the reason why. And I'm going to go even a step further than that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready. Let's go.
It's not only that they're the exact same thing. It is the fundamental reason why, if someone is starting an online business or has an online coaching business or has some kind of business online or wants to develop one or has struggled years trying to develop one, if they're failing, there's a 99% chance they're failing because they're not treating it the same way as they would treat a manufacturing business.
Okay.
And that's the reason why they're failing in a large.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm ready.
Let's go back to the idea of what we're first talking about when we were talking about throwing rocks.
Sure.
Okay, so we're there's a target over there.
It's an extension.
Okay? But we're not just extending, we're extending towards a target, a specific place.
Yep.
Right? That's what spears were.
Yep.
That's what arrows are. That's what slingshots are. That's what guns are.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally all those things.
Yeah.
Right? That's what
missiles
boats are. That's what missiles are.
Cars.
That's what cars are.
Okay.
Like everything that we develop is that, right? A wrench is that in a sense, right? It's extending your strength and your torque, right? Your ability, your leverage, right? And to hold in a certain way. So it's an extended towards a specific purpose in a specific way. So in your manufacturing, what manufacturing does is it does the same thing in the sense that it takes something that would take a long time to make and it hyper compresses it. Okay, right. So, Milton Friedman had this great example of a pencil.
Okay.
Like, you can't make this.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like the different components of it come from different countries.
Yep.
Right? Like the graphite that goes through it has to be run through machines.
Yeah.
And so there's like even though it's worth almost nothing, you could not.
Yeah, you can't make it.
You can't make it.
Just like you can't make a plastic bag.
And exactly, just like you can't make a plastic bag.
You literally cannot.
Right.
Like it's just not a thing. You're never going to do that.
That's right.
In your house. It's not possible.
That's right.
I mean, it's possible, but the capital involved would be terrible.
Okay. So let's take an online coach.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's go back and let's first talk about the pencil.
Sure.
Okay. So now someone could get a piece of graphite. Someone could get a piece of wood. Someone could cut out a piece of wood with a knife, right? It wouldn't be quite as straight and fancy, but they could carve it out. They could whittle one, then cut a little hole down the middle, get some graphite, push it back in there, glue it back together, get a piece of rubber, get a little piece of metal to it. And they could make one. It would take no telling how long. And it wouldn't be the quality that this one is.
Miserable.
They'd probably never want to make it again and never want to use it because they wouldn't never want, right? They'd be like, this is the most valuable thing on it, right? Because of the energy that had to go into it in order to produce it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then no one could ever buy it because
you can't sell it.
You can't sell it because the value you had to put into it to make it, no one's going to buy it. Okay. So let's say someone said, okay, I'm going to be an online coach.
Okay.
Well, you could be an online coach and you could sell a coaching program for $5,000 or $1,000 or $500 or something like that. You'd be a personal trainer for $500 a month or something like that, okay? And the thing about it is they're not going to be able to manufacture. They're not going to be able to scale. They're going to reach a limit. They're going to, in the same way that you reach a limit to what you can produce with the pencil.
Yep.
You're going to reach a limit in the same way. And the only way to scale that and to build that is to start thinking like a manufacturer.
Okay.
And start doing things like a manufacturer.
Okay.
And what does a manufacturer do? Well, they break the individual pieces apart and they manufacture them en masse through automated processes.
And assembly lines and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And an assembly line is a form of automated process.
Mostly automated, depending on what it is.
Well, originally the first assembly lines were automated in this. The automation was in individual employees that came in. Yeah. And so most people wouldn't consider that an automation, but it is. Like in the sense that's its function. Yeah. Right? Is there's a bunch of people standing next to each other doing their things.
It's a force multiplier.
Yeah, I remember listening when I was had my restaurant. This is wild. When I had my restaurant, my food supplier, I was like, how do they, like, because we'd buy these big 40-pound cases, chicken, boneless, skinless chicken.
Yeah.
Comes in 40-pound cases.
Yeah.
In the restaurant business, that's what it comes. Sometimes you can get 20, but most of the time it's 40. Okay, so you get these things 10 days from production date. You got to use them. It's ready to go. I said, man, these they're all cut. There's no bones in here and stuff like that. It was like, do they have like a machine or something? I was asking my food service provider. He's like, actually, no. I've toured the Tyson facility where they actually pack all this stuff. I said, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, how do they actually do that? He said, you won't believe it. I said, what is it? Like, tell me.
Yeah.
And he said, there is
a sea of people.
A sea of little old ladies. He said they all have white hair. They're little old ladies, and they're standing there. And he said, you should see them work. Like a chicken comes on, and they go, whoosh, 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 pieces, throw it in a bucket. Whoosh, and then there's another one that's just sorting them all, right? And then there's another. And that's how they get the legs different than the, right? Someone's pulling off the skin, this, that, and the other, and they're just boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And that's an automation process.
It is.
Right? Like this one person, they don't have to switch between different jobs.
Nope.
This person's job is, for example, pull off the skin.
Yeah, like my grandfather, he worked at a butcher, like a large scale butcher, and all he did all day was debone halves of beef. So he would literally take 200-pound hunks of beef, take them off, and debone them.
Yep.
Like that was his job. And good Lord, is his, like, to this day, his hands are like vice grips.
Yeah.
And he's 88 years old.
Yeah.
And there's like, when you shake his hand at 88, you still feel this like, where you go, oh, dang. Like, and back in the day, like when I was a kid, he would literally, if he wanted to, crush your hands and like break all the bones in them. He was that strong. But because of that, because that's literally deboning knife all day.
And, there are really only two ways to automate, because the key to manufacturing is automation.
Right.
In general. Right. It's a multiplier.
Yeah. It's basically out, like minimal input, maximum output. Right. So how much can I get out of this machine? How fast can it come off? And how good is the yield coming off of it?
That's right.
Right.
And what's the waste? What's the
all these yield things. is the inverse of waste.
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
I was just clarifying.
I understand.
Not for your sake, for everyone else's sake, that they're
what are you actually getting out? Yeah.
Right. What's my yield? Right.
For sure.
That was huge for plastic bags, because you can't use all of what we used. Right. Mm-hmm. Like there's always, because you have to trim edges off to get clean, like, because you're making a bag. So you have to seal 2 layers of plastic together. And so there's a level of, like, you have to get rid of edges.
Well, and that's the same thing as, like, in the restaurant business, when you bought boneless, skinless chicken, it was more expensive than bone-in chicken.
Yeah, because they did the process for you.
And they had waste.
Right.
Right.
Well,
their yield wasn't
as good.
Yes.
And
exactly.
they had more man hours. They had more input into it.
That's right.
Right. So your input goes up, the price goes up.
And so here's the thing where I'm talking about how it comes to online business. The reason why people
this is why I buy loins from Costco.
Yep.
Because I'll buy the whole loin because I know how to cut steaks. Then I can cut them the exact size that I want, instead of paying $3 to $5 more a pound for them to pre-cut it and pre-trim it and do all the stuff.
That's right.
But I don't need them to do that.
That's right.
But anyway, it's the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing. And so from an online business perspective, or even a physical business that is wanting to scale, it's the same thing. You have to think in a way to automate. And there's 2 ways to automate: through technology or through people. Employees or technology. That's really the only 2, so far as I know, on how to.
Like technology, as long as it falls into the machine perspective.
Yeah.
Or you're saying online?
Online, technology in general. Yeah. I'm thinking of like a technology as a machine, or technology as
software,
ActiveCampaign software.
Yeah, software, stuff like that.
As ClickFunnels, things like this. Okay. So most people that want to be serious about online stuff, they don't treat it like a real business. They don't treat it like a real manufacturing business. They don't treat it in these ways. Actually, because, for example, I remember I was repitching a program for a lady. Mm-hmm. And I was at this. It was actually at the Viralish headquarters.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it was really cool. And they made this offer, and it was a $50,000 offer. I was like, that's a serious offer, right? Yeah. There's probably like 30 people there, 40 people there, something like that. And once I heard the offer, it was okay presented. It could have been presented way better. But I thought it was the actual offer was really good.
Right.
Like, because they was going to guarantee
lots of value.
million views.
Yeah.
Like they was going to. So I immediately recognized it as like a huge form of automation. Mm-hmm. And for anybody that was in the room, sorry. And for anybody in the room, all those people had, moderately successful, if not very successful businesses.
Right.
And they could only take so many people because they were actually
legit. They had a cap.
They had a cap, and it was
because of service, because of people, and they had constraints, which is
100%,
which is a very fascinating thing.
Constraints, yes.
There's a whole theory on it. It's called theory of constraint.
We'll have to talk about that.
Literally ran our manufacturing business based on the theory. Like there was theory of constraint was like this whole thing, right? Basically, the general, I don't remember exactly, but the general essence is like you have to fix constraints, right? Because one area of your whole process is really what's causing you the whole, like it's causing a larger problem than you think it is, right? So like if I can produce 10 million feet of plastic, but I can only print 3 million feet of plastic in a month, my main problem is my printing department, right? And then like my converting department can convert 20 million feet. Well, I don't have to, like in theory, I don't need to do anything in converting until these two catch up, right? Because I'm never going to hit capacity over here. My capacity is limited here.
That could actually, again, be applied directly to online businesses.
Show me. Tell me. I'm curious.
I mean, that's...
Tell me the exact, because this is where I think our conversation gets into I think it's there, but I want to hear your version of where you think that shows up.
Okay, so let's say someone has a coach. We have a
coaching business.
Oh, let me finish my story.
Sure.
And then we'll come back to that.
Yep.
No. I want to make sure that I get this story out.
Yeah.
So I was there at the headquarters, and they did the
pitch, they did the pitch,
and it was great. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So they were doing something like, we promise at least a million new viewers. The team's going to actually come out and film all your stuff for you. You're going to have 90 pieces of content over 90 different 90 days.
Yeah.
And if you already have a system, now it's not a good offer for someone that has no business.
Right.
If you have a business, and all, like, the thing you want more than anything is eyeballs, and the thing you're there for is the purpose of trying to build a team.
Yeah.
And now, if you're going to build a team to create online content for eyeballs, you are going to, let's think about this. You're going to need like 2 or 3 people, right? So if you have 3 employees, let's say you only pay them like $30,000 a year, like a teacher's salary in Tennessee or something, right? $30,000 a year.
Yep.
Okay. And you're going to have like 3 employees. That's like $90,000 by itself. And that's not going to be people that's good at that.
Right.
Right. So if you get people that's good at that, they're going to want at least probably like $60,000 a year. Right.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
We'll be generous.
Right. So maybe a manager and 2 helpers.
Sure.
Right?
Be generous.
So you got like 90, 60, and 60. What is that? 9. 12,
24,000
20,
or 240,000.
$240,000, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to actually build a team, and
22,100 or 210,000.
We can't do math.
No, I'm sorry. It was 210.
9.
No, it's 210.
210. Okay. 210,000. Anyway, the point, none of that matters. It just matters that, so that would be like between a $90,000 to a $210,000 to build a team.
To do this.
Right? Like, I heard the other day that some of the big players like Hermosi and Cody Sanchez are spending like something like $1 million a month just
for
on
their
media team.
Makes sense.
Right? Of course it makes sense as long as you think of it as a manufacturing facility.
As long as you're getting return on that money.
That part. So here's what's happening. This is so crazy. And it doesn't matter if you're a little guy or a big guy. This is what makes sense. So if you look at, so they offered that for $50,000.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, okay, $50,000. There is no world in which I could train, build, or create a team that could produce that much yield in that short period of time.
Yeah.
With the most minimal input from our team.
Right.
Then that right there, that is the lowest cost solution.
Right.
Right? Because they basically, that company built a manufacturer, how to manufacture videos.
Right.
Right? Through a system.
Right. With employees or whatever.
That could scale up to capacity, to their capacity. Right? Now, because they had brought a guy in that had trained his team to do that. Okay? Now, here's the craziest part of it. Okay, so there's that 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, the thing is when it was first pitched, like they sold I think they had like 10 spots and they sold like 7. And the next day,
decent.
Yeah, but I was like, there's just no way that why ain't this selling yet, right?
Right.
So I was like, wait a minute, why? And so I reached out to some of the one of the leaders and I was like, hey, just put me on stage for like
20 minutes,
like 12 to 20 minutes. I was like. Well,
you probably told them 12 minutes and then you were up there for 20.
20, yeah.
But it's all good.
But I said, hey, put me on, and she looked kind of strange at me. I was like, well, first I'd asked her
how many did you close?
How many they close? And she said, like 7. I think she said 7 or 8, something like that. And I was like, do you want to sell out? And she said, yeah. And I was like, well, put me on stage for just a second. I was like, treat it like a testimonial or something. And she was like,
let me check.
Yeah. And so they brought me up, and then like I spoke for like 12 to 20 minutes, and they sold 12. And they were like, no more.
I can't sell anymore.
I can't sell anymore. But the thing is I think it ended up being only 11, but still it was more than what they, that's not like a story just to brag on like my sales ability. The point was I changed the perspective from a manufacturing perspective.
Right.
Because like if someone comes in, like a manufacturer is going to hire an engineer or hire a production manager or a plant manager or someone.
All of those things.
All of those things, and they're going to and they're paying for the full skill set and everything that's coming that they're going to bring to the table for that. And that's way cheaper than
doing
them
it,
having to do that themselves.
Right.
Even if they can.
Right. That's why you don't get a lot of manufacturers in larger scale things, right? Like that's why you don't have new car manufacturers popping up left and right, because the barrier to entry is so high, right? Like they're so, and they have this mass momentum going on that the capital to get it going is massive.
Exactly.
It's so massive.
But
you need something that's going to distinguish you from everybody else at that point as well.
Well, and just the capital to do it.
Well, no, but I'm saying assume that you could get the capital. You're probably going to get it from investors, right? You probably don't have.
And that's what Elon did.
Right, exactly. But the reason he could do it is because he had something unique to the market.
Yep.
Right? If he was just going to make regular old gasoline guzzling cars, nobody's giving him the money.
Nope.
It's just not like there's no point.
Nope.
Because the return on that investment is going to be low. I might as well just dump it in whatever stock of whatever company that's already.
Because the market is already fully saturated with vehicles.
Right.
And so you would just be cannibalizing any other
You're
market.
You're going to cannibalizing that's already there, and you can't, to put a team together that's going to outperform all those people that are already there, that are already doing their thing and are already in a system, and you're going to build a system from scratch is highly unlikely. It's just unlikely because it's a really challenging thing to get into something at that massive a scale.
For sure.
Right? Honestly, I think that's like Hermosi talks about liking service-based businesses a lot better. Well, why? Because the barrier to entry is a lot lower.
Oh, yeah.
right? Like I can get into a business where I come fix HVAC units much easier.
You make a lot of money doing
it. I know. Then I can get into making HVAC units. For sure. Right? Like the startup capital is significantly less.
Well, the startup capital is significantly less, and the demand for the supply of installers of HVAC is much higher than the demand for a new HVAC system.
Exactly.
Unless there's some kind of new technological advance,
exactly.
to your point, that is a whole new USP.
USP.
Yeah.
Unique selling proposition.
And so, I almost said UPS. That's the reason why I got confused. I was like, wait, a new UPS. But so again, I feel like I'm still dancing around the issue about it being the same as manufacturing, because when you have an online business, like every asset, every piece of your business is like a manufacturing system. So, so I have a business with a guy that teaches health things.
Yeah.
And he has a coaching program.
Sure.
Right. But originally he didn't start with a coaching program. Originally he did one-on-one stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And he went and helped people clean out their kitchen cabinets and everything like that. Right. There's no way to scale that. Like, so it was going back to the whittling your own thing. And so the value for him to make any money in a way so that he could dedicate his life to it.
He had to charge too much.
He had to charge too much, right?
Right.
And he felt weird doing that anyway, because it was like helping people save their lives and things like that. So he was like, I'm not going to, And so we created like a 5-day weight loss challenge thing. And when he did that, then all of a sudden a bunch of people could come in.
Okay.
But then that wasn't it. Then I said you should do group coaching instead of one-on-one. And then he could charge less, have a bunch of people come in at the same time. But then here's the problem. You got to be, so.
Now you need a system.
Now you need a system. You got to have a system to manufacture that.
Okay.
And to deliver the product, to deliver the coaching, to deliver the communication methods, right? He's not going to call everybody up and, hey, coaching calls tonight, coaching calls tonight, coaching calls tonight, coaching calls tonight, right? So there has to be a system that's in development to ship the product.
Okay. So let's do this because I'm close. I'm close to being on board. So let's do this. Let me go through my experience in manufacturing.
We need to do that.
So let me go through my experience in manufacturing and go, okay, here are the pieces and parts of manufacturing, right? Here's the process to get a plastic bag out the door, right? Not grocery bags and not trash bags, parts bags for everybody. That's where
So you're saying like when someone buys like a piece of
if you buy
like an Amazon piece of a furniture, right, and inside all the like
the bolts, sometimes those,
like the little bolts and stuff,
the little bolt pack, sometimes those. The better example is if like you go to Home Depot and you buy Shark Bite, you buy those bags. We made those. If you buy like any like parts bags from like Ford, Honda, like all those guys, we made a lot of parts bags for them. Caterpillar, those kinds of things. We made a lot of those. Zip ties, like if you go get, like we made a lot of those, that kind of stuff. And then we actually got into some of the food stuff. So we would make like the apple bags that were like the pouch ones that had the handles on them. We'd make some of those too. So, okay. So that's the manufacturing that we're doing, right? So let me take you through start to finish what happens to get product to you. Like you order, right? You order a bag. So, and then you can compare those bits and pieces, all those different things, and you could tell me where that shows up in
the online business
online business world, right? So let me go through the whole. Let me go through the whole thing.
Let's go.
If you need
should
to take
I stop
notes,
you in between, or should you go through the whole thing?
Let me go through the whole thing real quick, and then
good.
You can take notes on the different.
Clear piece of paper. Here.
Perfect. You get a clear piece of paper. Okay, so part one, you have to get have to have a building, have to have machines to make the stuff. So we're gonna say that's already there, right?
Okay, so we're not going to count that.
We're not going to count that, right? Okay. So because you can go buy the machines, right? Somebody makes it. We actually built machines in-house for the converting process, but we bought our other stuff. So first thing is you need raw materials, right? So I need something coming in. So we would buy whole rail cars of plastic, virgin plastic material.
What is virgin plastic?
So it comes from
never been touched by any other plastic.
Never been
been made into anything.
Right. So it came straight from a petroleum plant.
Okay.
So we would buy from Dow Chemical. We buy from Exxon Mobil. Like we buy from these huge companies. They would ship us a whole rail car of different types of plastic. That would be whatever. It's like 200,000 pounds. That would come in. We would extrude it. Right, so it would go from little tiny pellets, look like fish eggs, little tiny pellets, and then we would extrude it. We would make it into big giant rolls of film, right? Or it would flatten out. So there's an extruder, go up 70 feet in the air, cool off, make giant rolls like 70, or they'd be like 2,000 pound rolls of plastic.
Yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
this is the raw materials.
That's raw material to manufacturing phase one, right? Because now I have plastic. Has no print on it, has no customization at all. It's clear. And it's different gauges, right? We have plastic, and then you make it in different gauges. And then we had different, we make different colors, and we can do different things like that. Yeah. But just have plastic, right? There's a big giant roll of plastic.
Convert it from the raw materials to the actual plastic.
Yeah, so we extrude it. Now it's usable how we want to use it. You could extrude it into a different form. You could put it in molds. You could do different things with it. But we would make it into rolls of plastic film, right?
Okay.
So like 70,000 feet of plastic on a roll.
Gotcha.
All right. So that's now we take that specific, has a code, has everything. We would take one of those rolls and then we would put it on our printing presses and we would print images on it, right? So whatever, you might print like 4 across, 4 up is what we would call it, 4 or 5 across images, front and back usually. And we print all of that and then we would take it to converting. Right, so you have many steps in this process. So there's 3 steps.
So is this where am I at right now?
You're in the actual manufacturing of you're taking raw materials.
I moved from phase 1 to phase 2.
What do you have?
So I have building machines and then raw materials.
Yep.
And then phase 1 of like getting now you got rolls.
So now you have rolls, but this is like the manufacturing process. So now I'm converting it from.
Okay.
There's 3 steps to get it to a finished product. Right, so I have to extrude it, then I have to print on it if I need to print. Sometimes we didn't have print, we had plain bags, but most of the time we'd print on it. Then I would send it to converting, and then they would make the individual bags, and they'd all be daisy chained together so you could drop your product into them. So those would go onto a finished roll or into a box, and then that would get shipped out to the customer. Right, so then that goes to shipping, and then shipping does all their parts. They call their people, and we ship it to the customer directly.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the whole process. Obviously, there's auxiliary stuff in there. We have quality control. We have sales. Yeah. You have R&D. We're doing things to make stuff better, all that kind of stuff. But that's the essence of the process.
Okay, so let me first liken this to the restaurant business.
Well, I believe it's like that.
I know, but I'm going to take it as a step, right? Because most people don't think about a restaurant as a manufacturing facility.
Oh, I do.
They kind of think of it as a restaurant, and then you have like industry, which is like manufacturing.
Yeah.
I want to liken it first.
Sure.
Okay.
Take
it the next step.
Okay. You do.
So like you've got the fryers and the grills and
you got
building. You got
the
all
tools.
that stuff, right? And then you get the raw materials, right?
Yep.
You get
your 40 pounds of chicken.
Your 40 pounds of chicken, and then you're going to decide what you like. You might have to cut it. You might have to have a series of people cutting it into smaller pieces. Like so, for example, we found that if we took grilled chicken, jumbo chicken tenders was way less expensive than boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Okay,
but they're essentially the same.
They're essentially the same thing, but they're cut into slightly smaller pieces, but they're still big. Okay, so what we would do, since they were so thick, I would take that and then we would butterfly those and open it up, and then it was like a breast, and it would work as a sandwich. Yeah. And so we saved like $1 per breast doing that, which is everything in the restaurant business.
Oh yeah,
because you're working on volume.
Right.
And so it could mean like $200-300 a week, depending on how many of those you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And we did that with a lot of different products, or like onions, for example. Right. You take the raw material, which is the onion, but I had to hire someone to come in, and they had to peel them, cut them, and then slice them. And at first we would slice them on a mandolin slicer, and then eventually I bought this big awesome thing that was big, and you just went like this, and you just threw them in there, and it just slice, and then you had a bunch, and then so we would use them then to, if someone came in and got a burger and they wanted sauteed onions on it, we'd take those onions, throw them on the grill. Someone wanted what we call dusted onions, which was like super thin onion rings. It was like a blooming onion, and onion rings had a baby. And so we would lightly dust batter them, throw them in that fryer for like 90 seconds, pull them out, and they're like, and we made a big pile of them. People loved them. Or we'd put that underneath a steak or something like that. And then if someone just ordered a regular burger and want regular onions, not sauteed onions, put them on there, right? So onions. Or then we needed to put onions in, say, potato salad, and we were making some potato salad. Well, we already got them sliced. We just got to dice them. Now we're done. Okay, so that was kind of, I guess, the equivalent of like getting raw materials, turning it into just the slices, and then doing the next phase, which you discussed, was like printing different types of things. And converting was like we're converting it from this into either roasted onions, and then grilled,
and then you're converting it as the cooking process. Right?
Exactly.
And then you're delivering it.
Or the dressing, the burger, or the
like but if you sauteed them, then now you're cooking them, right? You had to change the appearance potentially.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, so, you had to change the appearance, same way with when they were fried.
Yep.
Same way with whether they were diced to put in a potato salad, for example.
Any of that.
Right. Okay, so again, manufacturing, same thing, right? And you have to do that in an intelligent way to maximize yield with minimal input, right? So I'd have this one guy that would come in every Thursday, and he would just cut onions, and it was hilarious because he was a kind of like a friend, and I say friend, like someone I knew, right? And we had a lot of cool conversations and stuff. But he would come in, and he only wanted to work one day a week, and so he would come in and he would cut onions for the whole week for us. And so he'd spend like 2 hours doing nothing but onion cutting, right? And you go back there and he'd be like crying,
Oh yeah.
And like, everything all right? He'd just smile, He'd think it was funny.
Good.
But he would do that, and he'd get a bunch of prep work, not just that, but a bunch of other prep work like that for all the next week and get it ready. And label everything and date it and all that kind of stuff. But that was an automation system, right? That was a production system. And then of course, then when you wrap it up and put it in a bag or box or whatever, and
refrigerate
or on
and
a plate, and then when it actually became a product, right, on the burger itself, you'd put it on the plate or you put it through the drive-through or the pickup window or whatever it is.
Yep.
And then so you would ship it in that way, right? That would be shipping, boxed and shipped. Now, from an online perspective, let's take some of our word wash stuff. Okay. So what has to happen? Okay. Well, we'll have a webinar, right, where there's the 7 steps in Genesis, for example, that we talk about, where day 1, like, how does God take a bunch of chaos of amalgamation of everything that is dark and unfilled and unformed and nothingness, and then how does he turn that into structured order that we live in today? Right? Habitable order. Okay. Well, that's what we want to do in our life every day. Every day is unstructured. Everything that we do is unstructured. You know this. I'm just giving some background so this makes sense. Okay. Well, most people don't realize that that's in the Bible like that, and it's kind of a pattern.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's the whole of Genesis 1.
I
don't have to freak out there for anybody that's... but the point is there is a pattern there, at least as far as I can see. And
as far as we can see,
as far as we both can see, right? And so we built a whole program around it for how do you apply that to your business? How do you apply that if you have chaos in your business, or how do you have it if you have chaos in your marriage or in your wherever chaos is? So we have this idea. Here's the problem, because every manufacturing facility is trying to solve problem.
Yep.
What are they trying to solve it for? A particular people, right? A people that need that problem solved, right? For manufacturing bags, there's people that need bags,
right? There's other manufacturers of things that don't want to take on this additional process, right? Because if I make nails or I make whatever shark bite fittings, I don't want to have to solve this other problem because there's all these steps involved, right? It's like the pencil.
That's right.
Right? Like, I don't want...
And they don't want to have to go extract the petroleum themselves.
Well, we didn't.
That's my point.
Exactly. So we didn't do that part. right? Our raw material
you-
came
you-
from a
you
different
rest it.
manufacturer
That's right.
that did a different thing because
right.
that's a whole nother ball game. It's a whole nother.
And this is where I go back to online marketing, because every online marketer seems to try to make everything everything,
Okay.
right? And instead of hyperfixating on a particular problem. So in this one, our particular problem was the whole point of Word Washed as a company is to help people that are believers to unbrainwash themselves from unbiblical principles that they don't even know exists.
Yeah.
You know, we go through the things like follow your heart and all these things
Yeah.
that are nonsensical, but everyone it's in like,
But it's
in
so-
Disney
it's in-
Disney films. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? So, right, it's a whole new world,
Right.
But like it's literally telling you to follow your heart,
Yeah.
Which Book of Jeremiah says is the most deceitful thing above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? It's like that's the worst. Like you want to follow
Worst
the
idea.
most deceitful thing that
Right.
there is.
Bad
yeah, that's
idea.
a great idea. Like no, dumb, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's so dumb. And so with this, what are we doing with Word Washed? It's very simple. Okay. Well, we want to manufacture someone that doesn't have the knowledge of how to move from chaos to order in their business, in their finances, in their
Right.
whatever. Okay, so they don't know how to do that. Okay, so some people manufacture books.
Okay.
Okay, and so they spend the time writing the book to teach something like that. That's a 3-step process for whatever. I mean, I got a lot of books behind me, right?
Yeah.
Tools of Titans, do hard things.
Yeah.
4-hour work week, this, that, and the other thing. All those things are simply manufactured
Okay.
books, but I'm
Okay.
not talking about the thing itself. I'm talking about the information that's inside it.
No, I know. I get
It's
it.
manufactured, it's put together, organized, right? So in manufacturing, you organize things. In
Yep.
online marketing, especially in informational things, you restructure information
Okay.
in a way that solves the problem of not knowing.
Okay.
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 So how do you do that? Well, you create videos, you create courses,
Yeah.
you create digital products.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Chaos to Order, we create a program with a study guide and a devotional and all this stuff that they go through that
Yep.
then helps them reanalyze the text. Okay. Then we have to have automation systems to send out the emails. We have to launch webinars
Yep.
to teach people why they even need this thing in the first place.
Yep.
And not just why they need it, but actually how it works, so that then they can actually learn how to do it themselves. And each step, so we take the raw materials, the stuff in Genesis, right?
Okay.
All right? That's already
That
there.
was the only thing that I was gonna ask. That's like I think that's my only hang up at the moment.
Really fascinating.
Is the raw material. Like what are you considering raw material? Right?
The raw material is information. If you're thinking about an information-based business,
Well, obviously because
like a coaching or
sure,
some kind of education business.
So if you told me if you were talking about e-commerce, like e-commerce is just a business that doesn't have a building, right? Like and
Okay,
so
let's think about video production.
No. I want to talk about raw. I want to talk about information business. You can use what we have.
Okay.
Like my only snag.
Yeah.
In the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is raw material, because raw material in general is coming from somewhere else. So
Yes.
where's the raw material in the online information based thing? That's what I want to hear where that's coming from.
Oh, from wherever the source material came from. So, for example, earlier today, we talked about something that Myron says,
Sure.
right? And so we just pulled raw material from that conversation, right?
Okay.
The Bible being the
Yeah.
foundation of Word Washed as a company,
Sure.
right? So we pull all of our source material from the Bible,
Okay.
right? And so that is the fundamental raw material that we use in that business. Let's say someone is a midwife. We have midwives as clients, and where are they pulling their material from? Well, they have a service business, but we're also creating digital products for them, so they can that they can expand their geographical territory, because they can only reach so many houses.
Right.
Okay. So, and there's a lot of good information that they have.
Yeah.
That's
helpful to people.
That's really helpful to people. And so So if we create that digital product, we're going to manufacture that digital product, that information product, where does that source material come from? Well, it comes from their mind, but it doesn't come from their mind. It first came from their mentors, the people that they came from, any books that they've read, any schooling that they've had, the experiences that they gained, and then they're packaging that and using their brains to intelligently communicate that in a compressed way. Because that's what we do, because like if you learn from experience, that takes a long freaking time.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
Right? With a lot of pain, right? In the same way of making this would take a lot of pain, a lot of time, a lot of effort, manufacturing this. And a lot of mistakes, right? So then, but if I can do this and make a lot of mistakes, but then finally kind of perfect the process, then I can then, from an information standpoint, I can repackage those raw materials from those experiences in a way that compresses to create the product to deliver the solution in the shortest period amount of time, and then using automations to deliver it in its most effective, most efficient way, while at the same time driving down its costs.
Okay.
Did I sell you?
I think I'm sold. Okay, so I think the example that I have,
and
that,
if you, still hit me if you do.
No. I think what sold me is there's two things. So it's a Bible principle and a physics principle.
Oh, cool.
Right, because they're always the same.
Yeah.
Right, they always come back to each other. So Solomon said, "There's nothing new under the sun."
Yeah.
Right, and the law of the conservation of energy says there's nothing created or destroyed. It only changes form.
Energy is never created or destroyed.
It just changes forms, and so then that's essentially what you're doing. So like. Similar to making steel, right? Steel is one of the most recycled products that we make, right? Because they just take scrap and they melt it back down and re-put it out, right? Into a new form. Well, that's essentially what you're doing is you're saying, I'm taking somebody else's information, and I might take it from 4 or 5 different places, and I'm melting it down and I'm putting it out with my own twist on it, right? But it's still, like, if you take the steel example, like, did you melt down cars or did you melt down houses? Did you melt down whatever? Like, yeah, you melted down all these different pieces, right? But you can make whatever you want out of it, right? You're making the raw material, then you get to create it into whatever you want, depending on where the steel mill sells it to, right? So it could become, like, you might have a billet and that's a steel mill term of a really big piece of steel, but you might have this thing, right? And you might ship it to a pipe manufacturer. Well, that pipe might not have been pipe that you melted down. You might only melted down cars. I don't know. Like, obviously that's chemistry, but same thing's happening, right? You're not necessarily only melting down information from the one source material. You're also including your experiences. You're also including these other bits of information that this person didn't necessarily have because they didn't have your experiences and they didn't maybe have the books you read or whatever. And so now you're melting it down and you're creating a new product. Okay.
You're building different.
Sold. You win. You win.
Different components, right?
Yeah.
Different components from your experience.
All right. They're the same.
Information.
They're the same. You win. Congratulations. We'll get a tally board. You win. I don't know, but yeah, you got me on that one. Okay. So they're the same.
Yeah, they're the same.
It's the same. Okay.
Yeah. One's more physically based.
Well, obviously it's more physically based.
Right, but it's the same pattern, same principle, same foundation.
Still need all the same processes.
All the same processes.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
All right.
And I think, again, that's the reason why online businesses typically fail. They don't realize that's what's actually happening.
Of course not.
And because they don't realize that's what's happening, they don't treat it as such. And because they don't treat it, and I think that's the reason why we're really good at what we do, particularly. Is
it's funny. I always
you apply that.
Well,
I always apply the manufacturing filter in every conversation.
I can't not
when we work on a client.
Yeah.
Like if we're doing some if we're helping someone go viral on social media,
sure.
Or if we're helping them create online digital programs. Yeah. Or we're helping them to break into a new market, or we're helping them restructure and eliminate different problems in their business in order to increase their profits, or any kind of consulting. No matter what arena that we do, which is what we do, right? Or even in WordWash, every time we have a conversation, privately
Yeah.
about that business, there's never a time that you don't bring up the manufacturing process.
I can't not.
There's-
Like
that's
like
not-
the thing is like go spend 11 years in anything,
I know,
like
but-
any arena,
but my-
and it's gonna come like you're that filter. It's hard to remove that filter when like you have so much experience in it,
Yeah.
right? It's the same as like I can make comparisons. Like there's so many. My son does jiu-jitsu, as you know, and so but there's so many life lessons that coincide, right? They're like they run parallel to each other. Like we'll know about, putting reps in on something and it doesn't work how you want it to work initially, right? It's messy and it doesn't work, but the more reps you put in, the more you refine it, the better it gets. Yep. Well, the same thing happens in the jiu-jitsu arena, right? Here's a new move. Here's a new thing to do. Well, the first time you do it, you suck. Period. You just suck. But if you step away and you don't keep applying it, well, you're never going to get good at it, right? And so there's just so many things, but that's just how
and the
it
thing
works.
is for like
It's how you get raw material.
People with coaching programs and stuff, the smartest people, they will hire someone. They're in the same way that your manufacturing facility here didn't do every single piece.
Yeah.
Right, they did a section of the process,
right,
but not the full process.
A pretty big section,
right? A pretty big section, but still not the full section, right. And the thing is they're dependent. Like your business was dependent first and primarily on like the bolt makers and them effectively selling bolts, and the need for bolts to be put into things.
Oh yeah,
right. Like so there is. You're a back derivative of solving your business was like a back solution based on a need that was far removed.
Oh yeah, you want to know this is awesome. So since I spent 11 years in the manufacturing, I think we went through while I was there. I think we went through 3 election cycles, right? Like presidential election cycles.
Yeah.
The third and fourth quarter of an election year was always slow for us. Always.
Wait, which one?
The third and fourth quarter of a presidential election year was always slow for us because you have all these large companies that don't know
what's about to happen.
And so they get a little hesitant, right? Because if something
they
big,
pump the brakes just a little
they
bit.
pump the brakes just enough, but you get that across a whole bunch of different places, right? And since we fed a large portion of a lot of different manufacturing, I noticed the second time it happened, I was like, that's interesting. And then the third time it happened exactly the same. And it was like, why are we slow right now? I'm like, oh, it's an election year, right? It's a presidential election year. Of course we're slow because as usual, it's like, ooh, what's going to happen? Ooh, are the policies going to change drastically? Ooh, are we going to get hit with tariffs? Ooh, like all these factors are running through the.
Or is there going to be new tax advantages or something?
Or any of
bad,
or any of that. And so, do I want to hold off on making my orders until some of those things get implemented because I'll have a better. I'll get better return on that thing, or I'll get worse return. So people will pump the brakes, and it just always happened.
100%.
So at least from what I could tell. So,
and I think that, and I think we can wrap up like this.
You're not doing turkeys.
Oh man, I got to do turkeys.
Do you want to wrap up, or do you want to do turkeys? You can do turkeys next week.
I can do turkeys next week. Turkeys would be good, man.
Turkeys would be good. I think you save turkeys for next week.
Okay.
Because if you go to turkeys, we got at least another half hour.
100%, yeah. And and it's more human behavior.
Yeah.
But it's wild, and it's really the key to effective communication of products and services online.
Yeah.
But it's the key to understanding that. And it piggybacks off some of our earlier conversations that we started with today. But to wrap up, I'd say that like advice to like business owners, for example, especially small business owners, mom and pop chains, especially online coaches, people that have something.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything and you want to go on online, You need to get narrow on what problems you're solving, period.
Oh, for sure. Always.
What problems you're solving. For people that are already solving problems and you want to scale, and you want to get more attention online, then you got to, again, think about it from a manufacturing facility. How do you manufacture attention?
Right.
So that's another thing. You got to manufacture attention. Well, how do you do that? Well, you got to build a manufacturing process to get attention.
Yeah.
Like you got to build a manufacturing process to get attention. So you can either outsource that, you can
build a content machine,
or you can, or you could buy programs and products that help you do such a thing.
Absolutely.
To shorten the span of time that it takes to achieve such. And
they're just bolt-ons to the machine, though. You still need to build the machine.
You still got to build the machine, yeah. And so you got to build a machine or a full division, an extension,
or you're outsourcing that portion of your business.
Exactly.
Right. Just like the Bolt people just bought plastic bags from us because they didn't want to deal with it.
Exactly. So and that's fair enough. The thing with,
as long as your return on investment is good enough for it.
As long as your return on investment is good enough. Yep. And so that's fascinating.
It is fascinating.